Why turn off the lights? If you can't accommodate people, why let them in?
Turn the lights back on.
Refund, refund, refund.
工作人员告诉我们，一共有15条船。
The staff told us there are 15 boats, but from the highest point where I'm standing, I don't see any coming. There may be 1 or 2 at most.
I'm here in the middle of a long queue at Sanya's West Island tourist area. Let me show you my current location. It's so packed I can barely breathe. On January 30th, the second day of the Chinese New Year, West Island in Sanya was packed with tourists. However, the surge in visitors exposed the poor management and lack of capacity, leaving thousands of tourists stranded at the dock for 3 hours. Even at night, many were still waiting in line. Frustrated visitors shouted for refunds, and the scene was chaotic. Some questioned the management, asking why they turned off the lights when so many people were still stuck there at 8 p.m. A video posted online criticized the poor service at West Island. The person said they started queuing for the boat at 10:30 a.m., but by noon they were still waiting with no boats in sight. Every year, the number of tourists surges during the Chinese New Year, yet the local authorities fail to prepare. Instead, they only focus on selling tickets and making money. The person urged travelers from other places to avoid coming. Although the scenic area issued an apology and listed several improvement measures, similar issues happen every year. The root of the problem remains. Sanya's tourism infrastructure simply cannot keep up with the growing number of visitors. On social media, complaints about West Island went viral. Many people criticized the high cost of traveling in Sanya, saying prices keep going up, but the experience hasn't improved. Others complained about price hikes during holidays, calling it a terrible experience. Some people pointed out that this was a classic case of overcrowding. They accused the scenic area of prioritizing profits over visitors' experiences, failing to provide even the most basic services. Others were frustrated with the management's excuse that there were too many tourists, calling it an irresponsible response. Many sympathized with the stranded visitors. Traveling all this way, of course, people want a smooth trip, but instead they're stuck at the dock, wasting their time and money while feeling miserable. Who wouldn't be upset? It's not just West Island and Sanya. Many other popular tourist destinations are facing similar problems. In Hangzhou, the famous broken bridge at Westlake has become a hot topic again. Huge crowds have flooded the site, making it nearly impossible to move. A visitor commented, "I came to see the bridge, but all I see are people, people, and more people." Another joked, "At this rate, the bridge might actually break under the weight." Despite the extreme crowding, many tourists remain determined, saying, "I've come all this way, I might as well squeeze through, even if it's exhausting." Another popular destination, Lingying Temple in Hangzhou, was packed from the early hours of January 29th, the first day of the Chinese New Year. By 5 a.m., nearby roads were already jammed. Some people had to walk 40 minutes to cover just 2 kilometers. A tourist, Ms. Zhang, said the line to leave stretched as far as the eye could see. For many, long holidays are the only chance to travel, but the overwhelming crowds make it a frustrating experience. The same situation played out at other famous temples, including Xiyuan Temple in Suzhou, Daxingshan Temple in Xi'an, Wutai Mountain in Shanxi, and Dazhao Temple in Hohhot. Meanwhile, tickets for many popular museums were completely booked for the entire Chinese New Year holiday. The Terracotta Warriors Museum in Xi'an, for example, issued 75,000 tickets per day, yet it was still overcrowded, with visitors struggling to move through the crowds. A tourist from Liaoning, Ms. Chen, told Chinese media, "At around 8 a.m. on February 1st, we entered pit number 1 of the Terracotta Warriors. It was unbelievably crowded. I was completely surrounded by tour groups who could barely move. I was practically pushed along by the crowd, with almost no space to walk. My down jacket even got squeezed so much that the feathers popped out." Another tourist, Mr. Mo from Shandong, visited the museum with his family. He told reporters, "We stayed at a hotel in Lintong district, thinking we could arrive early and be among the first visitors, but we didn't expect such a massive queue. The site opens at 7:30 a.m., and by then many people were already in line. The temperature was very low, around 2 degrees Celsius, but we had no choice but to wait patiently." During the Chinese New Year holiday, tourist sites across the country experienced chaos. On January 30th, at Wanshui Mountain in Kaifeng, Hunan, an accident occurred during a high pole balancing performance. A prop broke, causing a female performer to fall to the ground. Witnesses said she was seriously injured and had to be taken away in a wheelchair. Videos from the scene showed a woman lying on the ground, motionless, with a broken long pole beside her. Some onlookers later commented, "I felt like it wasn't safe at the time." The incident raised concerns about safety standards in the industry. For the performer, it was undoubtedly a terrifying experience that could affect her career and personal life. On February 1st, Wanshui Mountain, Wuxia City, issued a statement saying the performer was in good health and had not suffered serious injuries. The show has since been suspended. The scenic area is known for its Song Dynasty-themed attractions, featuring ancient city walls and a martial arts cultural experience. The park recreates Song Dynasty streets and markets, offering an immersive historical atmosphere. From morning until night, it hosts dozens of live performances, including shows inspired by classic tales like Water Margin and The Legend of Yue. Some have praised it as one of China's best value travel destinations. Recently, however, complaints about overcrowding have gone viral. One frustrated visitor posted online, "Wanshui Mountain, do you only care about selling tickets and not about visitor safety? Why is there no crowd control? Why are there no proper traffic signs? Especially in the Fortress Arena and the Magic Square, every step I took, I was pushed forward by the crowd. Entering felt like being shoved in, and leaving was just as bad. If you can't handle so many visitors, why keep selling unlimited tickets? Are we here to watch performances or just see a sea of people? Today, on the 5th day of the new year, I finally squeezed my way out of the crowd, but it took 2 hours just to drive 1 kilometer. And don't even get me started on the bathrooms. The first one I found was in a service area, and it was filthy and reeked. A terrible experience." Incidents like this aren't isolated. On January 28th, in Nanning, Guangxi, a molten fireworks performance went wrong when sparks accidentally ignited a large decorative wall nearby. The fire quickly grew out of control. At first, some visitors thought it was part of the show, but as the flames spread and started climbing up the lighting rigs, panic set in. Tourists began fleeing in fear, and the situation nearly led to a stampede. A witness shouted, "Don't panic, don't move. There's a fire over there, stay still." Fortunately, the site was evacuated quickly and no one was injured. Meanwhile, Xi'an has once again become a trending topic. Xi'an, also known as Chang'an, is a historical capital with deep cultural roots. It attracts a flood of visitors every holiday. In Chengdu, Wenshu Monastery was just as packed. One visitor said, "It's impossible to get in. The line stretches at least 2 kilometers." A video showing massive crowds at Hongya Cave in Chongqing during the Chinese New Year has sparked heated discussions online. The place was packed with people, making it difficult to move or even breathe. A tourist in Chongqing warned, "There are just too many people. If you're planning to drive here for a self-guided trip, I strongly advise against it." On January 31st, visitors to Wangxiangu in Jiangxi experienced severe congestion. The wait for a shuttle bus back to the village was over an hour, so many people chose to walk instead. Along the way, children were crying, and parents looked frustrated. One visitor complained, "Wangxiangu is a tourist site, so why don't they allow parking? There are plenty of spaces, yet they refuse to let visitors park. The security staff outside are even worse. A place like this won't last long. Tourists come here to spend money, yet they end up feeling disappointed. The management is terrible." Even though it's currently Beijing's off-season for tourism, the crowds haven't diminished. Over the past few days of the Chinese New Year, tourists have flooded Tiananmen Square, the Great Wall, the Temple of Heaven, and the Summer Palace. One visitor at the Summer Palace on January 31st said, "It was packed with people, and we could barely move at the Tower of Buddhist Incense. It was freezing, and honestly, I wanted to go back to the hotel." Another tourist posted a video on February 1st saying, "It feels like 100 million people are climbing the Great Wall today. They say, you're not a true hero unless you climb the Great Wall. Well, I did, and I'm drenched in sweat. But with people pushing from all sides, I couldn't see anything." The chaos of holiday travel peaked on the first day of the new year, as scenic spots across the country were packed. Just lining up for a cable car ride took hours. Meanwhile, issues like price gouging, overcharging tourists, and forced shopping on group tours remained widespread.
We came here for sightseeing, not to be held hostage. What right do you have to stop us from leaving?
I already told you, if you go in and spend over 20,000 yuan in an hour, I'll let you go.
Why should we have to spend over 20,000 yuan? Whether we buy anything is our decision. Just because the tour guide says we have to shop doesn't mean we must.
Brother, this is a 399 yuan tour package for 7 days and 6 nights. Everyone knows this is a shopping tour.
But you never clearly stated that when we signed up. You tricked us into coming here to spend money. Isn't that the case?
This is an unspoken industry rule. You get it, right?
What do you mean by unspoken? No, I don't get your so-called rules. All I know is I'm not as easy to fool as the older folks. Just because you tell us to buy something doesn't mean we will. I won't spend a single cent today.
Let me tell you, if you refuse to shop, fine. You can walk back over 100 kilometers on your own. My bus won't take you.
So if we go in and spend money, then we could take your bus, right?
Yeah, that's right. In recent months, complaints about hidden traps, high costs, and poor experiences in Chinese tourist destinations have become increasingly common. What's really behind all these issues? If you're thinking of visiting Weizhou Island in Guangxi, don't. This place is a complete ripoff. The first thing that shocked me was that after getting off the ferry, we had to go through security again. I was confused because we had already gone through security before boarding. Then I realized it was because they were forcing everyone to buy a 98 yuan island entry ticket. You have to scan your ID at the gate or you're not allowed in. The ferry ticket is around 190 yuan, plus the 89 yuan entry fee, meaning before doing anything, we've already spent nearly 300 yuan. The second thing that really annoyed me was the way they charged for beach chairs at Shilukou Beach. There were 4 of us, and we rented a set that included a table, 4 sun loungers, and an umbrella. When we asked the price, the owner said 100 yuan, so we paid. But suddenly, he took away one of the chairs. When I asked why, he said our package only included 3 chairs and that we'd have to pay extra for the 4th. I pointed out that other people had 4 chairs, and he replied that their package cost 150 yuan. Why didn't he mention that earlier? This is blatant price gouging. They might as well just reach into my pocket and take my money. It's disgusting. Scams everywhere.
我真的要气炸了。
I'm furious. My parents and I traveled over 2,000 kilometers from Tianjin to Chaoshan, Guangdong to celebrate the new year. We paid sky-high prices for flights and train tickets, and the hotel rates are insane, over 2,000 yuan per night, with even basic hotels costing more than 1,000 yuan. And the local authorities say nothing about it. On January 31st, we took a high-speed train to Puning Station and went straight to Guandi Temple to watch the Yunge dance from 9 a.m. to noon. Then we took a taxi to Lusha Square in a nearby town. At 2 p.m., we planned to visit Chaozhou for a 3-night stay, hoping to see the night views, explore the ancient city, and try some local snacks. But everything we had planned turned out to be misleading. Many other tourists were scammed just like us. What's the point of coming here for the holiday? Which government department is responsible for this mess? I've had to revise my itinerary until late at night every day, running on just 3 hours of sleep, while paying 500 yuan per night for a homestay. Most hotels cost over 1,000 yuan, and they're still fully booked. We didn't budget for this. Why did I even come here? I'm completely dumbfounded.
Another traveler shared their frustration about Yunnan, saying, touring Yunnan is disgusting. First, they lure you in. Then from the moment you get on the tour bus, the guide starts yelling at you to shop. If you don't buy something, they claim you're disrespecting ethnic minorities and threaten to abandon you on the road. The contract originally stated there would be 2 shopping trips, but when we got there, it turned into 5. None of this was written in the contract. Then there are so-called optional scenic transport fees, except they're not optional. If you don't pay, you can't even enter. It's a total scam. In Nan'ao County, Guangdong, an influx of tourists following the completion of the Cross-Sea Bridge has led to rising taxi fares, with some visitors complaining about price hikes. In Quanzhou, Fujian, traditional New Year activities drew over 2 million visitors on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day alone. Shenzhen's public parks were also overcrowded. One visitor shared their experience of visiting Lianhua Mountain Park and Shenzhen Bay Park during the holiday, saying it was impossible to enjoy the sights due to the crowds. Returning to the city was also a nightmare, with some illegal taxi drivers charging 200 yuan for a 10-kilometer ride. Price gouging at tourist sites has become an unspoken rule of the industry. It's now almost expected that prices will skyrocket during peak seasons, and those who don't take advantage of tourists are seen as not business savvy. This is particularly common in low-cost tour packages, where travel agencies pack the itinerary with mandatory shopping stops. If tourists refuse to buy enough, they might be taken to remote areas as punishment. Some tour guides even resort to threats, insults, or coercion to force spending. These so-called black tour guides operate openly in the industry. In some places, like Yunnan, overpriced souvenirs are pushed aggressively. In the infamous Snowtown scandal, guides have even physically assaulted tourists. Why are these scams becoming more rampant? The answer is simple: there's little to no regulation. Many observers argue that China's tourism industry thrives on short-term profits. Since most tourists are from out of town and are unlikely to return, businesses focus on making as much money as possible in a single visit, without concern for long-term reputation. They see peak seasons as a chance to earn a year's worth of profits in just a few weeks. Meanwhile, the persistent issues at these tourist sites point to a deeper problem: weak government oversight. When scams and overpricing continue unchecked, it raises questions about whether local officials are protecting these exploitative businesses. Some believe that behind every unchecked scam, there's a government official turning a blind eye. Ultimately, this reflects the Chinese Communist Party's failure to effectively regulate the tourism industry.